Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, at this stage of the event, we will be moving on to the closing plenary. This third edition of Sustainable Apparel Forum has focused on sustainability in the apparel industry through policy and leadership in Bangladesh. To put closing remarks on our drive to build a more sustainable apparel manufacturing hub in Bangladesh, today we have a panel of hugely experienced visionary personalities from home and abroad. Today, we have our guest of honor for the closing plenary, Mr. Tipu Munshi, MP, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Commerce, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. We also have our special guests, His Excellency Charles Whitley, Honorable Ambassador and Head of Delegation of the European Union to Bangladesh. His Excellency M. Riaz Hamidullah, Honorable Ambassador of Bangladesh to the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Mr. Mohammad Hatem, Executive President of BKNEA, Managing Director of MB Knit Fashions Limited. We also have Mr. Ziaur Rahman, Regional Country Manager, Production of Bangladesh, Pakistan and Africa of H&M, and Mr. Syed M. Tanvir, Vice President of the Chittagong Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Managing Director of Pacific Jeans Limited. For the closing plenary, we also have Mr. Farooq Hassan, President of BGMEA and Managing Director of Giant Group, and we have the visionary Mr. Mostafiz Uddin, Founder and CEO of Bangladesh Apparel Exchange. I would like to request the speakers to please come up on stage and take their seats. Thank you very much, gentlemen and honorable guests, for taking the place on stage. At the age of 71, Mohammad Nasiruddin, chairman of Pacific Jeans Limited, took his last breath, having blazed a trail and leaving a lasting impact on the world. Starting with only 200 people, in a 37-year journey, Mohammad Nasiruddin's name became synonymous with denim, as he etched his name in the history books as a pioneer of denim production, becoming the largest denim garment producer in the entire subcontinent. His company, Pacific Jeans Group, one of the leading denim finishers in the world, became an institution for premium jeans. Here we want to show a short video on his journey. Can we have the video on screen, please?
Pioneering the RMG sector of Bangladesh, Mohammad Nasiruddin was a true visionary with exceptional foresight, leading the country's economic and industrial evolution. Beginning with NZN Fashion in 1984, a factory with 200 people, little did he know of the legacy that he was about to carve out in the coming years. The road to success has been tested with numerous challenges, with bar default for his first ever consignment in 1984, and with continuous struggles to attain the trust of high street foreign buyers up till 1992. With the heart of a true champion, he embraced such challenges and portrayed the image of a thriving Bangladesh on global platforms to change Bangladesh's perception in the eyes of the world. From the very onset, his motto has been to create a process-driven company instead of an owner-driven one to achieve sustainable growth. A firm believer in working smarter, he always thrived in adapting to innovation, technology, and automation. His never-ending efforts translated into numerous prestigious accolades. His journey of 37 years has engraved his name in the history books as Denim Mughal in the industry. Today, we remember him as a man who believed in endless possibilities, a true patriot, and above all, an immortal soul, beloved to many and respected by all.
Can we have a round of applause for this visionary? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I would now like to request all of you a moment of silence to honor a gesture of respect to Mohammad Nasiruddin. Thank you very much. You may take your seats now. At first, I'm requesting Mr. Syed M. Tanvir, Vice President of the Chittagong Chamber and Commerce and Industries and Managing Director of Pacific Jeans Limited, to share his closing remarks on Sustainable Apparel Forum 2022.
Thank you. Honorable Chief Guest of the event, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Commerce, Government of People's Republic of Bangladesh, Tipu Munshi MP, special guests, His Excellency Emriaz Hamidullah, Ambassador of Bangladesh to the United Kingdom of the Netherlands, His Excellency Charles Whiteley, Ambassador EU Delegation to Bangladesh, Mohammad Hatim, Executive President BKMEA, Managing Director MB Knit Fashion Limited, Zia Rahman, Regional Country Manager Production H&M, distinguished panelists and speakers, a very good afternoon to you all. Distinguished presence, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great pleasure for me to be in front of such august gathering and to say a few words before you. I would like to offer my heartfelt gratitude to Bangladesh Apparel Exchange and the person behind this excellent program, Mr. Mustafizuddin, for again organizing a groundbreaking show. Pacific Jeans Limited is truly honored to be a part of the third edition of Sustainable Apparel Forum, which now become the sustainable event of the region. Distinguished presence, the global business landscape has been transformed to a new realism in the recent years, and sustainability has become the core area of concern. Once sustainability issues were considered as a niche issue and mostly considered as ornamental. But in the changed reality, we have now understood that it is one of the major dealing points of the business now and the days to come. Products have its economic value, so it does has its intrinsic value proposition. It is true that when a customer buys a product, they look for best deals available in the market. But the new generation customers not only look into the price of the product when they buy, but also they look for the water footprint, the carbon footprint, and its social values that comes with the product. They don't want to wear garment which often regarded as our second skin with guilt of deteriorating the environment or violating basic human rights. This non-economic value of the product is very important, not only for business perspective or branding, it is a major concern for the business itself. So from that perspective, we should be very cautious about the business. Distinguished guests, Bangladesh RMG industry is the second largest apparel exporter of the world. In the last calendar year, 2021, we exported $35.81 billion worth of product. In the current fiscal, our export is experiencing an amazing growth over 33%, and we are expecting to have an export of over $40 billion. Besides this mammoth growth, Bangladesh was also successful in operating its factories, maintaining all the COVID-19 protocol to create a win-win situation for manufacturers, brands, and the workers. The economy of the country is heavily dependent on the RMG sector. Therefore, the entrepreneurs are very cautious about the resilient growth of the industry. We have seen, even in this COVID period, around 75 new LEED certified green factories have come into operation, of which around 25 are platinum rated, which proves the commitment of the industry towards sustainability. A green factory not only reduces the environmental footprint of production through its lifetime in terms of carbon emission, water footprint reduction, renewable energy and waste management, it also creates a happy and healthy workplace by ensuring use of daylight, ensuring thermal comfort, maintaining proper in-house air quality, and many more, which helps to ensure health and well-being of the workers. Dear presence, while the RMG industry in Bangladesh is maintaining a solid progress in terms of environmental and social sustainability, we are still living in the era of price cuts. Every year, our cost of production is increasing due to rise in price of raw materials, energy, oil, gas, logistics, and many more. But as we see, we are finding it very difficult to ensure the sustainability standard the way we wanted it, as we are price takers and sustainability has its own cost. I would like to humbly request to our valued brands to please consider a sustainable pricing mechanism which will greatly help the RMG industry of Bangladesh and definitely create a win-win situation for all who are involved. I would like to humbly request our honorable chief guest to please support the industry to have all the important policies we need, like circular economy policy for RMG, renewable energy related amendments, and most importantly, stability in terms of doing business, as we find it really difficult to forecast our business sustainability for long terms. I would also like to request the Sustainable Apparel Forum to bring in issues like productivity, innovation, OSH, and its critical linkages between business sustainability in the long run. Distinguished guests, I would like to thank you for your patient hearing, and I believe all the meaningful discussion of the Sustainable Apparel Forum of the 2022 will be taken into consideration of the value stakeholders and policymakers, and together we will be able to take the industry to the desired position while maintaining sustainability with utmost care. We look forward to the next edition of Sustainability Apparel Forum. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Syed M. Tanveer. At this stage, I'm requesting Mr. Ziaur Rahman, Regional Country Manager Production, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Africa of H&M to give away his closing remarks on Sustainable Apparel Forum 2022.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Minister of Commerce, Mr. Tipu Munshi, Honorable BGMA President, Mr. Farooq, Honorable Ambassador, His Excellency Mr. Riaz Hamidullah, and then Honorable His Excellency Mr. Charles Whiteley, Mr. Hatem, and Mr. Sir Tanveer, and of course the one and only Mr. Mustafiz, and the President's distinguished panelist, speaker, a very good afternoon. I must say it's a huge pleasure to be part of this great event that is happening today, and we are truly honored here today. Distinguished presence, first of all, I would like to thank the Bangladesh Apparel Exchange and the man behind the show, Mr. Mustafiz, for successfully organizing this third edition of the Sustainable Apparel Forum in such an impactful manner. The conference has gathered global expert and industry stakeholder, and the H&M Group is proudly partner of this truly important event. Distinguished presence, we now stand at a very critical time, which may even be termed as an existential crisis for us. Yes, I'm talking about climate change. It will not only impact the climate, but also the existing system of the world, to be it social, economic, and of course, political. H&M has been on a journey in Bangladesh to create a sustainable apparel and textile industry over the past 3 decades. We consider Bangladesh as one of our strategic sourcing destinations. We want to see the sector grow from strength to strength, and together we value our supplier to be part of the country and industry's journey. I must say here that this country, last 30 years, the journey has taken. It is remarkable. This is one of the most transparent and one of the most safest supply chain that we operate here. And we are very proud to be part of this supply chain. Climate change remains one of the greatest challenges of our time. Its consequences will affect our entire planet and everyone living on it, making it a key challenge of all industries, including fashion. In past decades, we have extracted natural resources at an alarming rate. The consumption of the natural resources is almost 1.7 times higher than the regenerated rate. Also, the fashion industry emits roughly around 8% of the global GHG emission, and is therefore an important sector in which improvement needs to be made. So there is no alternative to immediate changing our actions to save the planet. In the key area of concern, not only for the apparel industry, but for all. And from the perspective today's forum is very, very vital. Globally, the demand of sustainable production is increasing, and apparel brands are also trying to produce apparel with low environmental footprint. H&M Group has committed to become the climate positive throughout our entire value chain by 2040 at the latest. By 2031, we plan to reduce our net emission by 56% compared to 2019 baseline, in line with our Paris Agreement. Our sustainability vision is not only to lead the industry towards a more circular and renewable fashion industry, but also take the lead in mitigating the negative climate impact and creating positive impact. We understand the renewable energy context in Bangladesh is complex and difficult. We consider and appreciate the effort of our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in setting an ambitious goal for COP26 to increase 40% renewable energy by 2041, up from the current level of 3%. We also applied the cancellation of the 10 coal plants and the work that government is doing to review the renewable energy policy, power system master plan, solar roadmap 2041. These are all important steps in the very right directions. Bangladesh is one of the biggest sourcing market for many fashion brands, including us. Major fashion brands are increasing focus on renewable and greenhouse gas reduction, and this will be major focus for purchasing direction going forward. I would humbly request our Honorable Minister to advocate the alignment with the natural, with the national energy policy to set out a clear renewable target and roadmap throughout which renewable can be scaled up aggressively, as well as aligned with global commitment. Also enable a conducive policy environment to adapt to global offset renewable strategy, best practice like direct power purchase agreement and open access, so that RMG players can purchase offsite renewable energy. BGMEA has signed the UNFCCC Fashion Industry Charter for the climate action, and being a very powerful organization, BGMEA can also play a pivotal role to engage the government to support its member factories. And I'm proudly can say that we have a great relationship with the BGMEA, and we are open to partnering in every aspect for this. At H&M Group, we are committed to becoming a circular business. We aim for 100% of our material to be either recycled or sustainable sources by 2030. By the end of 2025, we have a goal of 30% recycled material share of all polyester used in our production will be 100% recycled. We own the source of the recycled material from Bangladesh, but the textile recycling sector is currently largely unregulated. To capture the opportunity that lies in textile waste recycling, the industry needs and recycle policy, proper incentive and investment. I would like to request the Honorable Minister again to please address this issue for betterment of the industry. distinguished guests. H&M Group has been doing business in Bangladesh for more than 30 years, and during the time, we witnessed the immense progress of the garment sector. I hope that through the industry's commitment to transforming the sector into a more sustainable one, Bangladesh can continue to prosper. And we all are here for that. And we see a right collaboration and cooperation is the key here. All suppliers that we source from here, we are very proud, we can say, and I mentioned it earlier, as a group, this is the most ethical market that we operate. This is one of the most transparent market that we operate. And a big thanks to our all stakeholders, our suppliers, especially our stakeholders like BGMEA and People's Republics of Bangladesh government. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ziaur Rahman. Now I would like to request Mr. Mohammad Hatem, Executive President of BKMEA, Managing Director of MB Knit Fashion Limited, to come up and say a few words on this occasion.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Honorable Chief Guest today, our Honorable Commerce Minister, Mr. Tipu Munshi MP, my colleague in the dais, President BJME, Mr. Farooq Hassan, His Excellency Mr. Charles Whitley, Ambassador and Head of Delegation of the European Union to Bangladesh, one of the most favorite diplomats, Mr. Riaz Hamidullah, Ambassador of Bangladesh in Netherlands, Mr. Ziaur Rahman, Country Manager of H&M, Mr. Tanvir, Director, Vice President BGMEA, and finally the most favorite organizer, Mr. Mostafizuddin. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Distinguished guests and participants, because of ever increasing global climate change due to the following of the 19th century manufacturing production method that uses raw materials, water, energy, power in an unsustainable way, the concept of sustainable production is gaining popularity globally. Sustainability includes three pillars: economic, social, and environmental. So in order to protect the environment and save unlimited natural resources, many countries in the world are adopting sustainability into the manufacturing industry process. Many globally reputed apparel and footwear brands like Adidas, Puma are in process of implementing sustainability in their business. For example, European Union have already taken Green Deal initiatives with the aim to become a carbon neutral by 2050, achieving sustainable natural resources use, achieving global climate change resilient, and transition towards a circular economy. On the other hand, the global retail apparel and footwear brands is now making shoes in such a way that can be remade into a new pair of shoes after returning it to the company by consumers. Ladies and gentlemen, as the concept of the sustainability emphasis on reducing raw materials wastage, reuse of discarded raw materials, reduce water and energy consumption. In that case, Bangladesh RMG is in the process of embracing the concept, but there is a long way to go to fully implement of this process. Let's see how much Bangladesh RMG sector is in the way of implementing the sustainability concept, where we are standing and what are the challenges in front of us. UP Recycling, a number of RMG factories are using the discarded pieces of fabrics for producing the sanitary pad, COVID mask, etc., and thereby supporting the circular production to some extent. Using biological effluent treatment plant to remove waste from water and reuse the water, and thereby reducing water footprint or pressure on groundwater. Installing LEED certified green building and green industry, already mentioned in Mr. Tanvir in his speech. So green building and industry, green industry is significantly help us to reduce water and energy consumption. This is the highest figure among any other competitors countries of Bangladesh in the globes. RMG and knitwear factories, which is typically large in size, is starting to use of latest energy and water efficient technology that helping to minimize the waste of resources. Unused clothing and fabrics pieces known as jute, you know, in our sector there is a huge another business, this jute business. So this jute coming from RMG products production is selling to the one kind of businessman rather than dumping them as wastage. And that jute is recycling by the businessman and making it yarn or fabrics and exporting to European countries and China and all other countries, or reselling to another business and to produce the locally mattress and pillow cover and cushion, etc. Ensuring the social compliance in terms of the decent work, fair wage, occupational health and safety for the workers is one key element of the sustainability. Now, Bangladesh RMG sector is considered as a role model for implementing the social and labor standard in the world manufacturing industry. Bangladesh RMG has made remarkable progress in ensuring occupational health and safety, such as structural safety, fire safety, electrical safety, building safety, chemical safety, boiler safety, and other occupational safety at workplace. Ensuring fair wages, installing daycare center for women and with baby child care, group life insurance, and doing many other CSR activities. Distinguished guests and participants, Bangladesh RMG entrepreneurs invest thousands of $millions in implementing social and environmental standard in the sector. But the investment in not truly reflected in the product price from the buyer's end. Bangladeshi apparel entrepreneurs get only 10 to 15% of the retail price of a product sold in the Western markets, and that low price from buyers' end hampers the full implementation of the sustainability in the sector. So it is necessary to raise the voice from every corner to give us the fair price. In case of installing of green industry, normally it requires 15 to 20% more cost than normal industry. And its payback period is also so long. So it is one of cause of not being able to reimburse the green path for the industry. An effective dialogue between buyers and RMG producer is needed to think about it. So, lastly, to implement the sustainability in the sector, an effective coordination and efforts is needed from all actors of the sectors, from raw material suppliers to processor, to manufacturer, to retailers, as well as the more supportive hands from the government. Finally, as our Honorable Commerce Minister here, so I like to mention something in Bangla to draw attention our Honorable Commerce Minister. আমাদের যে পলিসি দেওয়া হচ্ছে এই পলিসিগুলো যদি সময় মতো আমরা না পাই তাহলে আমাদের পক্ষে এই ইন্ডাস্ট্রি গ্রিন ইন্ডাস্ট্রি বা আমাদের এই সাস্টেনেবিলিটি মেনটেন করা খুব ডিফিকাল্ট হবে। অনারেবল মিনিস্টার, এখন সময় আসছে একটু নজর দেওয়া এনবিআর এবং কাস্টমস পয়েন্টে। এই মুহূর্তে যদি বলেন যে আমাদের আমদানি রপ্তানির ক্ষেত্রে সবচেয়ে বড় বাধা কোনটা, বা আজকে এই যে আমাদের যে এই আমরা যেহেতু গ্রিন ইন্ডাস্ট্রি করছি এগুলির ক্ষেত্রে বাধা কোনটা, সেটা হচ্ছে কাস্টমস। এই বিষয়টা একটু দেখার জন্য অনুরোধ করব। কাস্টমসের সর্বোচ্চ পয়েন্ট থেকে লেভেল থেকে অনেক কিছু আমাদের পলিসি দেওয়া হয়, ওই নিচের লেভেলে যারা কাজ করেন তাদের অসহযোগিতা, তাদের দুর্নীতি আমাদের এগিয়ে যাবার পথটাকে কষ্টকর করে তোলে, আমাদেরকে অত্যন্ত পীড়া দেয়। আপনি জানেন যে আমাদের ওয়েস্টেজ নিয়ে একটা সিদ্ধান্ত আপনারা দিয়েছেন, সেটা নিয়ে এক হরিলুট চলছে বর্তমানে বন্ডে। শুধু একটা লাইন সংযোগ না করার কারণে এই অবস্থা হচ্ছে। আমি বলেছিলাম যে আপনারা খালি একটা লাইন জুড়ে দেন যে যে সমস্ত কেস এখনও অনিষ্পন্ন রয়েছে সেগুলি যেন এই নতুন ঘোষিত হার দ্বারা কার্যকর করা হয়, সেটা না দিয়ে আমাদের অনারেবল সচিব মহোদয় বলেছিলেন যে না সেটা দেওয়া যাবে না। আপনারা যেদিন আবেদন করেছেন 20 জানুয়ারি 2020 সেদিন থেকে হয়তো এটা কার্যকর করে দেওয়া যাবে। সেদিনটাও যদি করা হতো তাহলেও আমরা এই হরিলুট থেকে আমরা বাঁচতাম, কিন্তু করা হলো গত বছর জুলাই থেকে, যার ফলে এখন এই অরাজকতা চলছে সেখানে। ভেরি সিম্পল, আপনি যদি 1 জুলাই থেকে বলেন 29% আর 32% ওয়েস্টেজ ইজ অ্যালাউড, তাহলে 30 জুন আমার কি 16%? এটা বেসিক জিনিস। বিষয়টা দেখার জন্য আবারও বিনীত অনুরোধ করে আমি শেষ করছি। আল্লাহ হাফেজ।
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammad Hatim. Now I would like to request His Excellency M. Riaz Hamidullah, Honorable Ambassador of Bangladesh to the Kingdom of Netherlands, to come up and share his thoughts with us.
Honorable Minister, Excellencies, distinguished panelists, and dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have any set remark. Rather, I've been sitting here since morning. I'll try to share a bit of reflections that I picked up, and also connecting with some certain things that I come across being in Netherlands for almost 2 years now. The theme is very pertinent, beyond business. I also look at Charles Yu as being a Dutch. Beyond business. I was wondering, because when I talk to not only the Dutch but also many in Netherlands, some of you I can recognize here. I think I can also see 2 more from ILO. I think what's coming for almost a decade now, since 2013, and I had the odd privilege of seeing conversations in Geneva, Paris, Washington, and elsewhere. One is, what is beyond business are we really looking for or looking at? We heard so many. We went to OECD. We were told about M&A guidelines. We recognized it's voluntary. But I think, and then we had the SDGs Agenda 2030. One which is important is that to understand, to dissect, and truly own by everyone, and must not be any acrimony. It cannot be any conversation between us and them. We have had that enough. So first is, let's understand, what do we mean by shared prosperity through shared responsibility? And I would not only look at the brands, not only look at the Bangladeshi entrepreneurs or labor, all the friends in Europe and beyond. Second is it's time for a compact, not compact in Rousseau's way, but whether we codify it whichever way. I think compact premised on rights, choices, and responsibility. If all the three pillars has to go hand in hand, cannot be one in isolation of the other. The conversations which came from Tanvir or Zia is about the centrality of price. I think it's in the interest of the brands and the consumers that we must get that out. Again, that had enough. Conversation has been quite some time on productivity. Tanvir said that. I think that's also quite far away because we are no longer looking at, we cannot afford to look at the conventional production function. Time has passed quite some time back. We do not look at, and we must not look at labor. It is the technology and innovation which is at the center, as particularly when we are looking or moving towards a carbon neutral world, more so a circular economy. Sir, when I moved to Netherlands, I was presenting my credential to His Majesty the King. The 25 minutes conversation I had with the King, I think the second question he said, Ambassador, do you know that the Dutch economy will be circular by 50% circular by 2030 and fully circular by 2050? So that's almost around the corners. I was completely unaware of what actually he meant. Progressively, I realized. But now, my question to my own self, including all of you, is that it's only maybe a few years down the line we'll be going to circular economy. Are we all prepared? And again, at the consumption side, procurement side, the brands cannot simply look at, and that's why I said compact, cannot look at the manufacturers and say that, boys, get up. It's time to go circular. So whole chain has to move in. That I find absent. And I was particularly struck by Mark Anner when in the morning he said, last one decade, from 2012 to 2022, the apparel items picked up from Bangladesh has seen a 34% net reduction in price. That's something struck. That's why I'm saying, while I'm speaking as a Bangladesh ambassador, I'm not looking at Charles you or the brands or everyone has to come. That is the response, that is the essence of responsibility. Apparel is a people's industry. This is not a digital industry. Apparel is a people industry. We all understand, no. Question is that what kind of values and principles must drive it further? I think time has come. If you say about dignity and empathy, what do we mean by dignity and empathy? Now, price is central to dignity. If we are looking and talking about dignity of labor, it has to be, key yardstick is price. And if it's a price to be understood. Again, 34% net reduction. Let's get it right. And then getting connected. So dignity in workplace is one, but that has to go with dignity in terms of pricing as well. Right pricing is so critical to dignity. And that's also in the interest of the global consumers. Risk and uncertainty is getting increasingly a part of life. I look at each of you. COVID has taught us, but climate change is going to be pricking us even more. Question and issue is that when we are fraught with uncertainty that we saw during triple F crisis, then COVID, or maybe something in future, then how would everyone, each actor in the supply chain would behave? Responsibly and not in isolation. Room for apathy and indifference cannot any longer hold. Apathy and indifference we had seen enough. And when I say empathy is as much for worker, but also for nature. That's where comes climate change. So that's what, again, are certain elements for beyond business. Carbon neutral economy. We heard much from Glasgow, but let's get it right. Before we understand, before it hits us, sir, some of the banks, including HSBC, Standard Chartered, ABN AMRO, they all are changing their portfolios. So by the time it comes and hits us, much before any diktat or anything, any prescription, I think it's in our interest, everyone, not simply entrepreneurs, but also brands to come and join hands. I think one of the interesting takeaways for me in circular economy is that I think would be determined by technology and innovation. Now, technology is there in Europe and at the consumption end. But if we are driven by propriety, that yes, I have developed it, and that's rightful, that's fine. But the question is, if it doesn't come this way around at the production end, then the chain will collapse. Chain cannot remain steady. That's something is to be owned. I want this, frankly, I'm telling Charles, you and everyone, I think present, particularly also from the friends from Netherlands, to really take it back to places, not in Amsterdam or Copenhagen or else, but really understand that this cannot any longer be a Ascendam thing. And finally, I had the odd privilege, sir, 2013 to 2016, Mr. Farooq Hassan would corroborate, in terms of working together when the Sustainable Compact came. And I still recollect, one of the difficult things is if there are three pillars, labor, respect for labor, structural integrity, fine. The moment the third pillar would come, responsible business conduct, we used to be told by all our friends, sorry, hang on, Mr. Ambassador, that this is to be determined by market. I think we know enough of that. But if we cannot also be left to the market dynamics as well. But sometimes we know that if we leave to market dynamics, then that 34% introduction in real cost is something that we are latent. That cannot be doing justice to dignity, if not anything else. So if we really believe in something to be owned, and again, going back to shared prosperity through shared responsibility, we need to really engage in an even keel and a very frank manner. To me, that's the way to go for transformation, not transition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now I would like to request His Excellency Charles Whitley, Honorable Ambassador of Head of Delegation of the European Union to Bangladesh, to please come up and say a few words on this occasion.
Thank you very much indeed. Honourable Minister, distinguished panellists, it's a great honour to be here, and pleasure to be here. I'd like first to thank the Bangladesh Apparel Exchange, especially its founder and CEO, Mustafis Uddin, for this great initiative and for inviting me to speak on such a vital topic. I would say I imagine you're quite relieved that I'm not going to give a lengthy exposition on due diligence legislation or emissions trading schemes, so I'm going to concentrate on a few prepared remarks. I'm afraid they're not as thoughtful as Riaz's, which were very interesting and thought-provoking, but I'll go with what I have here. First of all, Bangladesh is really a place where discussion on sustainability makes strong sense. For two reasons. The textile and clothing industries are at the center of global sustainability concerns, given their far-reaching impact on the environment, workers, and even whole communities. And second, Bangladesh is by far the second largest producer and exporter worldwide in this sector. The other reason, which is perhaps more important, is the positive mindset in Bangladesh towards sustainability. Environmental sustainability is being embraced in Bangladesh more than anywhere else in the developing world. And we are witnessing, as we all know, an increasing number of green factories in the Bangladesh garment sector. It's difficult to have conceived of this even 10 years ago. And factory safety is another area where the Bangladesh garment industry has come such a long way in a relatively short time. Remaining ahead in this global race to sustainable industrial development is key for Bangladesh to achieve a successful transition, and in particular, to be able to adapt to market access requirements in the EU, which is, of course, still the largest export destination for Bangladesh. In short, to retain its competitive advantage. The EU is stepping up action to transform its economy towards climate neutrality and aims to change the system governing imports and the way it trades with the rest of the world, given the globalized nature of global value chains. The COVID pandemic and the disruptions that it has created in global supply chains has proved once again that sustainability is the true way forward. The most recent circular economic package and the due diligence directive, which I am mentioning having said I wouldn't, proposed by the EU, will have far-reaching implications for the EU's trading partners, including Bangladesh, from an environmental and the social point of view. We are creating rules to improve the way that companies and financial market participants disclose how climate and environment affect their business and investments, and how their activities in turn affect the climate, environment, and stakeholders in the value chains. Adapting to these regulatory changes in Europe is essential for Bangladesh to remain competitive in its business with the EU. Bangladesh is very much on track in aligning with the EU policies on environmental standards, and we all know also that efforts are intensifying on the social front in terms of improving workers' rights, which we consider fundamental elements to promote sustainability in supply chains. There is much engagement on this front, including the National Action Plan for the labour sector. I want to turn now to some of the EU's engagements in Bangladesh briefly. One of them is indeed the National Action Plan on the labour sector, which is a comprehensive framework of labour reform that the EU agreed with the Bangladesh authorities, covering the next 5 years for 2021 to 2026, as part of the GSP Everything But Arms market access arrangements with Bangladesh. Implementing the NAP on time will support companies in Bangladesh to stay ahead and become part of value chains of EU companies. Second, through our international partnership instruments, we are supporting the government of Bangladesh to develop a permanent social protection system for workers as part of our decent work agenda, and we very much value the work that ILO is doing in all these fields. During the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, the EU, together with Germany, came up with an assistance package of several million euros to safeguard the livelihoods of vulnerable workers in the garment and leather exports industries. This financial support, as part of Team Europe's response to the COVID-19 crisis, offers a safety net to workers affected by the fallout of the pandemic and helps to strengthen the resilience of Bangladesh's social security system. This support is not a one-off. This is actually a pilot, and the EU's ultimate goal is to help Bangladesh become a country that has a modern social security system, especially for workers, and this also helps, of course, in achieving the SDGs. Finally, another key avenue for our engagement is the Business Climate Dialogue, which is chaired by the Honourable Commerce Minister and all eight EU ambassadors in Bangladesh. We have developed a new working group on green business practices whose objective is to inform and work with the government of Bangladesh about the upcoming changes in the climate and environmental policies at the EU level, and to support this great green transition that is happening in Bangladesh. We look forward to continuing our collaboration in this field, and thank you again for having us here for this very valuable forum. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now, I would like to request our guest of honor, Mr. Tipu Munshi, MP, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Commerce, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, to please come up and share his views with us.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম, শুভ সন্ধ্যা। আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠানে রয়েছেন আমাদের হিজ এক্সেলেন্সি চার্লস ওয়েটলি, অ্যাম্বাসেডর অ্যান্ড হেড অফ ডেলিগেশন অফ দি ইউ টু বাংলাদেশ। রয়েছেন আমাদের রাষ্ট্রদূত যিনি নেদারল্যান্ডে আছেন, ফারুক হাসান বিজেএমির সভাপতি, হাতেম পিকেএমির এক্সিকিউটিভ সভাপতি, রয়েছে জিয়া যিনি H&M এবং পাকিস্তান এবং আফ্রিকার দায়িত্বে, যিনি আমাদের গর্ব। আমাদের তানভীর প্রথম যে বক্তৃতা দিল, আমার খুব প্রিয় বন্ধুর ছেলে, প্রায় 37 বছর আমরা একসাথে থেকেছি চলেছি, আমার প্রিয় নাসির ভাই, যিনি রিসেন্টলি আমাদের ছেড়ে চলে গেছেন। তার সুসন্তান, যোগ্য সন্তান, এবং মঞ্চে আরও উপস্থিত রয়েছেন। এবং সামনে যারা উপস্থিত রয়েছেন সবাইকে শুভেচ্ছা রয়েছে। I'm really happy to be here today because the Sustainable Apparel Forum, SUF, they have organized such a wonderful program. And playing a very significant role for knowledge sharing, which might help to make this positive image of building Bangladesh in the global market. Sorry. I hope through this forum our sector will be able to keep abreast of the latest technologies, product designs and fabric variations around the world. The theme of this year's conference is enabling sustainability through policy and leadership, which is very timely and important. As we are graduating from LDC and also facing the aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic, we all know that 2026 we will be graduating from this LDC. So there's the year coming up. With the we know our able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister. We have been successfully overcome the COVID-19 crisis. That is the policy we made, and you will love to know that in this area, Bangladesh is number one to overcome this COVID pandemic situation. We all know that the RMG sector is very important for Bangladesh. We all know that last 35 to 40 years, this sector has come a long way. When we started, we came to know about our Nasir Bhai who died. We started only 200 workers in 1984. So that's the starting time of this sector. And now today, it's almost $35 billion we are exporting, and hopefully it will cross this year. So Bangladesh now, beside that, you see 4 million people are working in this sector. And out of that, more than 60% workers are women, where we always proudly say that our women empowerment things. And the worker people, they came from the marginal people, and that really helps our economy, we all know. We all know about our Rana Plaza thing. That incident has jeopardized a lot of things. But I should say, একটা কথা বাংলায় বলা হয় যে বিপদ কখনো কখনো সম্পদে পরিণত হয়. Difficulties sometimes give some opportunity also. এই যে বিপদ আমাদের রানা প্লাজা গেল, that changed the total scenario. আজকে যে বাংলাদেশ একটা সেরা বাংলাদেশ, যেমন তার রিপোর্টও আমরা এখানে পেয়েছি, দেখেছি আমাদের এখানে যে ঘুরে দাঁড়িয়েছে, নাও compliance, good factories, lead factories, green factories. Bangladesh is now a role model in this sector. তার পিছনে কিন্তু রানা প্লাজার সেই দুর্ঘটনা, যেটা কিন্তু মোড় ঘুরিয়ে দিয়েছে. So really that changed our full scenario. এখন over the years the government has taken all-out efforts to bring legal reforms and strengthen the administrative capacity. We all know that includes the amendment of the Labour Act in 2013 and 2018, promulgation of the labour rules in 2015, mandatory formation of safety committee and elected participation committee in every factory. The registration process and trade union was made simpler. A central fund was established for the welfare of the workers, where the RMG's industry contributes about 85 crore, 85 কোটি টাকা প্রতি বছর, every year. All the same time, at the same time, DIFE, it was a directorate, now it became a department. That means it is more powerful, more working people over there, more efficiently they can handle the things. Beside the private sector, especially the industry associations have ramped up their own monitoring to create awareness and culture of safety among the workers and employees. A number of training programs on occupational safety and health and social dialogue and industrial relations were taken by the government of Bangladesh. ILO, associations, brand and factories by themselves. As a result, of all these initiatives and efforts, Bangladesh is today recognized as the safest apparel manufacturing country globally. The industry has proved itself in ensuring all these compliances and sustainability practices, which is why the confidence of buyer has increased over years and made the industry with more than $35 billion. In the world market, now Bangladesh now has got 6.2%, which is number 2 in the market position also. And beside that, we have huge population. We have the scope to go farther because our working people is quite huge and they are very efficient also. So I think we have a scope to go farther and do better in this sector also. We have demand in the world market, and I think we can go for the higher pricing, better production also. That can give us more financial, advantage, that we can get more money for these things. And we all know the Honorable Prime Minister always helps us from the day one. I am in this state also for last 35, 36 years. And starting from 1995, 96 until today, Honorable Prime Minister always supported us in all respect. And when we have that major problem of Rana Plaza things, the way she came and helped us, I should give her thanks that she is really with us. And beside that, for the workers' welfare, she is always in positive mentality. Always she tells us, try to help the worker, that will help you also in production in all respect. So now today is the position. We should appreciate her position also, that the way she was with us. And now I want to talk about buyers. We need good price also, as some of our speaker told already. But when they say compliance, when they say labor law, when they say better working, everything is good, very good. But price should be also good. They shall have to consider the price, because without that price, we cannot continue this type of thing. So we deserve better price, at least fair price. So that they shall have to come up with that thing, that they should give us the fair price also for this sector. I don't want to take much more time. Some buyers also told me, requested me as a commerce minister to look a lot of things. They have requested a lot of things. Yeah, I understand that. And I am there to support all the way, whatever is required. But this is also true. All the time, what I want also, that is not possible also. There are a lot of other things. But I want to say that I will try my best to support them. And that's not support only them, because I am also involved in this business. So that helps me also, and the country also. So my submission here, that I will try my best to do whatever possible. And in future also, all the time, I will try to understand the problems, to listen the problems, and I'll try to sort it out. So I want to close here my speech. Only one thing I want to say: we shall have to take this trade further for the interest of the country, for the interest of the people, for betterment of our economy, because our economy is depending on this trade. Major income coming from our side is in this trade. So we shall have to take this trade, this sector further. We shall have to do something to say that one day our export should be more than $100 billion in this sector. Thank you very much. Thanks all.
Can we have another round of applause for our chief guest, Honorable Minister, Mr. Tipu Munshi MP, for his wonderful speech. And thank you very much, sir, for gracing this occasion with your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to wrap up the whole day's event. At this stage, I'm requesting Mr. Farooq Hassan, President of BGMEA and Managing Director of Giant Group, to give a closing summary of Sustainable Apparel Forum 2022.
Chief Guest, Honorable Minister, Minister of Commerce, Mr. Tipu Munshi MP, His Excellency Riaz Hamidullah, Ambassador of Bangladesh to Netherlands, His Excellency Charles Waitley, Ambassador, European Union Delegation to Bangladesh, Mohammad Hatim, Executive President, BKMEA, Zia Rahman, Regional Country Manager, H&M, Syed M. Tanveer, Vice President, the Chittagong Chamber of Commerce, and the Managing Director of Pacific Jeans Limited, and Mustafizuddin, Founder, CEO, Bangladesh Apparel Exchange. Distinguished panelists and speakers, a very good afternoon to you all. In fact, it is now already evening 6. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be in front of such august gathering and to say a few words before you. I will try to summarize the discussion of the session and some key takeaways of this third edition of SAF 2022. Dear presents, we have had the opportunity to take part in 5 comprehensive plenary sessions. The first one was demystifying climate action. This session contemplated how the RMG industry of Bangladesh can meet the imperatives of global demand of climate action while continuing the sustainable growth. The session covered the importance of knowledge and awareness, collaboration, policy, and shared responsibilities of the supply chain actor in achieving the global science-based target initiative of keeping the emission limited to level that limit the global warming within 1.5 degrees. The session also highlighted the emerging leadership and initiative on environmental sustainability in the industry and how the good stories can be tapped into the achieve to the goal. The second plenary session was a discussion on purchasing practice. Bangladesh apparel industry has been playing a pivotal role in export earning of Bangladesh. This session explored how purchasing practice impact working condition and worker rights in suppliers' factories. It attributes this trend to a price squeeze and a sourcing squeeze in which lead firms pay increasing lower prices to suppliers while also imposing short lead times and high order volatility. The responsibility of decent work, budgeting, and pricing does not only fall on buyers. Suppliers also have the responsibility to quote prices that cover all the production costs. But a typical supplier invariably lacks a comprehensive understanding of all labor costs. As a result, majority of suppliers' profit margin have decreased over the years. That makes it inevitable to maintain the worker rights to the best possible way. The third plenary session discussed the importance of ESG, environment, social, and government, and green financing. This session considered how the RMG industry of Bangladesh can meet the imperative of global demand of sustainable apparel industry while continuing the growth. The session covered the importance of ESG, score of factories in making their business resilient in the long run, importance of collaboration with buyers, conducive policy framework, availability and challenge of green finance avenues, and shared responsibility of the supply chain actors. The session also highlighted the challenges faced by manufacturers, strategies of brand, role of government and financiers, emerging leadership, and initiative on environmental sustainability in the industry, and how the good stories can be tapped into achieve the goal. The fourth plenary session emphasized the closing the loop, circular economy in fashion industry. Being the second largest apparel exporter of the world, Bangladesh is also becoming the leader of sustainable apparel manufacture destination. Circular economy can be a solid avenue for the industry to diversify and within the industry. But the actors and supply chain are not integrated for lack of policy, regulation, and business model. This session contemplated how the orange industry of Bangladesh can locally close the loop and meet the demand of its partner, brand, and consumer. The session covered the importance of knowledge and awareness, collaboration, policy, and shared responsibility of the supply chain actors in transforming the linear economic model to circular economic model. The session put focus on the panel to share their learnings so far from circular collaboration, which would bridge to what is missing in their view. The session also tried to map out who is doing what and what to expect in driving circular textile industry in Bangladesh. The session also highlighted the emerging leadership and initiative of circular economy in Bangladesh. The session gave a huge focus on collaboration of different actors of the supply chain and their roles, policymakers, brand, recyclers, financiers, bank, etc., to successfully implement circular business in Bangladesh. The fifth and final plenary session discussed due diligence and legislation. The session explored how Bangladesh as a country is prepared to adopt the due diligence and legislation on human rights from the EU and the strategies the government will implement as it is now at the verge of graduating from LDCs. The session also discussed the impact of the due diligence and legislation on brand, how brand can support and collaborate with the manufacturers. Distinguished guests, I want to thank you all for your patient hearing, and I believe all the meaningful discussion of the Sustainable Apparel Forum of 2022 will be taken into consideration of the valued stakeholders, policymakers, and together we'll be able to take the industry to the level of excellence. We look forward to the next of SAF. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thanks to our honorable chief guest and our honorable speaker for such an exemplary closing plenary session. I would now like to request all of you to kindly stay on for a bit longer. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, under the leadership of Mr. Mostafizuddin, founder and CEO of Bangladesh Apparel Exchange, it has been taking initiatives to help Bangladesh apparel industry to face challenges regarding social, environmental, and business sustainability. Let us now see a glimpse of his journey. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, please welcome the visionary, Mr. Mustafizuddin, at the podium.
Good evening to everyone. I know it's already late. I would just like to say 2 words to everyone. First of all, when I was sitting over there, I was just missing one person in all over the place. And I'm just thinking of him. There's no one else than Mr. Nasiruddin. And I really miss him a lot. And second thing, I would like to thanks to our honorable, all the distinguished panelists, guests, especially to our speakers who came from far away. Maybe you all have not have the information that they had been flying 18 hours to 20 hours just to give a speech of 10 to 5 minutes. So I would like to give a big thanks to our all honorable speakers and my friends, all my senior brothers, my younger brothers, my associates, colleagues, sponsors, all our partners. I would like to give all of you a big thanks. Let's see each other in 2023. Thank you so much.
And with that, we've come to the end of the closing plenary session. I would like to request our honorable chief guest and honorable speakers to please stand up for a group photograph.